Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Arena of Aurethious. My name is Al Basler, aka Aurethious, and we're here. I know on the last episodes, plural, because it was kind of a two-parter, I mentioned that I wasn't really sure what the future of the podcast was going to be, how often I would be doing this, and really it was just going to be, whenever the inspiration, I guess, struck, or I had, something to go with, and I sort of do here for this episode. It's going to actually be sort of maybe a chain of consciousness, or I don't know, just some random thoughts, or just a kind of a synopsis of things that are going on that I have some kind of an interest in. So that's where we're at. So I don't want to waste too much time with an intro. It's just going to be me. I don't have anybody here with me today. So just a couple of things really to talk about. This will probably end up being on the shorter end of the podcast episodes when it's all said and done. But hopefully it's something for you guys to digest and maybe give some feedback on, and kind of where my mind's at today. And with that, I guess the way I wanted to kick this off was I had kind of a thought this morning when I was on my way to the office to work today. And I ended up I posted about this on Facebook, and I cross posted it to Twitter and also to the Ion Game Corner Discord, just to, I don't know, it was just something that was on my mind. I have about a 45-minute commute to work. And I was just thinking, and I was just like, you know what? Just feel like sharing. So, and then I thought about it while I was at work after I did that, and I was like, you know what? I feel like maybe this would be good to, I don't know, even expand on, but just kind of talk about it on the podcast. So here we are. It's kind of where this started, and then my mind kind of wandered a little bit into what else I would want to talk to, because definitely not going to spend an hour on this first thing, but getting back to the whole premise of this is that, so I was on my way to work this morning, and two separate occasions there was somebody who passed me illegally, very illegally, and kind of recklessly, and just, I don't know, not great when people do that. But I guess caveat to this, so we're talking about 5 o'clock in the morning. So not really it's not, roads aren't congested at all at where I am at that time, where either of these incidents, we'll call it, I guess, took place. But it was just the idea of, one situation, I'm just driving, and I'm going the speed limit, and someone goes passing me in a no passing zone into where oncoming traffic would be if there was actually oncoming traffic, and I mean flying. And this was not on the highway. This was just on a residential road, essentially. And it's just like, why are you in such a hurry that you needed to go that fast past me? And that happened again, probably 5 minutes later. It's the same thing. And the real kicker about the second time was, without going into too much detail about where I was, but it's essentially a main road that has on-ramps to the highway, because that's where I was getting close to getting ready to get on the highway. And where he passed me, he actually went into the breakdown lane to pass me. I don't know if it was he or she, and it doesn't matter. The person who passed me went into the breakdown lane to pass me and went flying by me. And it's like, what are you doing? Why are you in that much of a hurry? You needed to do that. I mean, and on top of that, the road that we were on, in about, I don't know, 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, turns into a 2-lane road. You could, if you just had a modicum of patience, you could have just gone into the other lane that I wasn't in and went on your merry way. But for whatever reason, immediately had to get in the breakdown lane and go flying. So it just kind of got me thinking. I wasn't in any danger. It's just people doing what I feel is stupid things, but that's, maybe that's just me. But it kind of got me thinking about how, it just feels like, on the whole, people are just always in a hurry. It's not just driving. It's other things as well. And why why are we as a society? And this is I'll get into a little bit more of this in a second, but just to finish the sentence, finish the thought without interrupting myself too much, which is this is going to happen because this is the way my brain works sometimes when I'm just talking. And it's like why are we always in such a hurry? Why does everything have to be such a rush with everything? And I feel like that's how our society kind of is wired in a way. Is everything has to be go go go, and everything is such urgency with everything that we're doing. And I know that's not a global thing. That's it feels like it's very much an American thing, to my knowledge. Don't get me. I'm not a world traveler. The only other country I've ever been to is Canada. So don't quote me. Don't quote me on this. I am not the foremost expert, but it just feels like it's just an American thing. Is that we're constantly on the go. We're constantly in a rush, and we're I get it. I mean, in some senses, I've been that way, and it's even more so where I'm from. I'm from Massachusetts. I'm from the New England region, the Northeast of the United States, and you're kind of all you're always told is that that's a Yankee thing. Or that's a Northeast thing. Everyone's always the pace of life is just so much more frantic in this region. There's some truth to that for sure. It's like what, but why? Like why we always have to be in such a hurry? Part of the post I made today, I told a story, and this is from I don't even remember the exact year, but it had to have been the early 2000s, I think, if my memory serves me correctly. But at the time, my father and we went to visit my grandmother who lived in on Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia, Canada. And even I mean, I'm not again. My experiences there are mostly limited to right around where she lived. It wasn't like I didn't I wasn't I've never been the big tourist person. I never really went ventured too far away from there. It was limited to the path from my house to her house, and just again the surrounding area from where she was. And the thing was is that it was a very quiet area where she lived. And there was this one time that we went to visit her, and she had asked us if we could go run an errand for her, and she wanted us to go to Home Depot, not Home Depot, I'm sorry, Office Max, because she needed typewriter ribbon. Now, there's probably some of you listening who don't have any idea what that is. You should Google it if it is, and I guarantee, and I do promise this did actually happen in the early 2000s. This wasn't like 1960. It's way before my time. But so we're at this Office Max, and we're in line. We got what we needed. We're in line. We're waiting. There's only one register open, so we're waiting in line. And the cashier is having this somewhat lengthy for being in line at a store conversation with the person at the front of the line. Now, I'm assuming they knew each other, small townish kind of area. Most people know everybody anyway. But, this conversation went on for, it had to have been upwards of 5 minutes, maybe closer to 10. And I just remember after the fact, and we weren't the only other people in line. There's a few people in line. Like, it wasn't like, oh my God, there's 20 people in line. Why are we taking so long? But there was a couple of people in line. There were people waiting. So we got done and talking to my father after the fact, and the first thing I said to him was I'm like, can you imagine if that had happened back at home? How that would have been so much different. I mean, people would have been beside themselves. People would have been so angry and just making comments and can you hurry up? Like, come on, we're waiting, stuff like that. And it just nobody said a word there. It was just it's just how life goes. And it's just an example of kind of sometimes how the mentality in different regions can be different. and all that. But it just reminds me of, like, especially like I said, in this area, about how we're always in such a rush to get everywhere. And for years, like, that was my mentality too. It's like, get to where you're going as fast as you can. Get, from point A to point B to point C to point D, all the way down to however many points you need to go. Get there as fast as you can, and just go, go, go. And um, one second, guys. Let me clear my throat here. But the thing for me was that in around the year 2000, not 2000, sorry, 2020, the year, as some of us have maybe come to know it, something happened for me, and I know a lot happened in 2020 for a lot of people. And just the situation of the world, and other things. 2020 was the year that my father passed away, and just the way that everything went down that year, it kind of gave me a different perspective on things. And one of the things that despite all of the bad or all of the negative from that year ish that transpired, one of the things that came out of it, which I have come to, I don't know, what the proper word is for it, but I've come to appreciate, maybe, is just a new kind of perspective that it's given me. And one of the big thing is that I just came to the conclusion, or the idea, or the thought process, is that, why am I in a hurry so much for everything? And I didn't have the answer. Like, why do I need to be in such a rush all the time? And the answer that I came up with was that I don't need to be in such a hurry for everything. And I don't need to maximize every second of the day. I can take time to breathe and just, enjoy things a little more, maybe, than I did before. Just appreciate the journey, so much as it's not, it's that the phrase, you've probably heard it a million times. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. And I feel like that is lost a lot of the times. It's, where do I want to get to, and what's the quickest way to get there, instead of just, enjoying the ride, for lack of a better term. And I mean, the one place above all else that I noticed that difference in me is literally just in driving. Again, and for years and years now, it's probably, we're talking, 15 plus years now. I've had about a 45-minute to an hour commute to and from work, and just, why am I in such a hurry to get there and or get home? You know, you know, and don't take this the wrong way. This is not me saying, I don't need to be on time. Like, I make sure that I give myself enough time, that I get there on time and not have to rush. I appreciate not having to rush. That's one of the things. I mean, that's not necessarily new for me, because I've always been an early riser, and I've always wanted to respect people enough to make sure that I'm on time to things, and try and give myself enough time. But in the past, I didn't always necessarily try and give myself enough time. I would still always want to be on time, if not early, but I would try and cram as much as I could into that time, where before it was like, I really need to go now to make sure that I'm on time. Now, I just, I don't do that as much. I try and give myself that extra time, and to, not be in a hurry. And I don't know. I mean, and it goes further than that. Just, you know, I feel like, and I should bring up, so one of the things, so I put this up on Facebook, and a couple of people commented here and there, like, just in support of what I was saying. And somebody talked about how people are busy, and Yes, people should. The one thing the one thing that was agreement was we should slow down on the roads. People shouldn't drive like idiots, and that goes without saying. But just how people are busy, and they have work, and sometimes people have to work multiple jobs, and you have kids, and your kids have activities that you have to get them to, and you have to take care of your house, and you have to take care of your family. You may have other family members you have to take care of, and you may not be able to slow down. But like for me, I think that that's more of an issue with how things are. People shouldn't have to be that busy to make ends meet, to get all the pieces of their life in place. There should be, time for people to breathe, time for people to enjoy, time, and I'm not saying, this isn't, I don't want to turn this into some kind of a political conversation because those of you who know me well enough know that I don't care for politics. I think politics is just, especially in this country, is a joke. And you get two opposing sides that are never going to see eye to eye, and they refuse to give ground either way. And again, I don't want this to devolve into a political discussion because it's not meant to be. But it should be easier for people to not feel like that they need to go from the time that they wake up to the time that they go to bed. And just have some, again, time to breathe, time to de-stress. Have a few moments where you don't feel like that if you take these 5 minutes or these 15 minutes or even this half hour, whatever the case may be, that you're going to fall so far behind in everything that you need to do that you can't afford to do it. That's not healthy, And again, everything that I'm saying here, take it with a grain of salt because, whatever, it's one man's opinion, and it's not, everybody is not wired the same way. It's part of what makes this world fun is how unique everybody is. And, some people would absolutely be totally fine and enjoy a very hectic, frantic pace. Some people are just wired that way, and that's totally fine. But by and large, I feel like generally most people would, do well to have some time to just, unplug or unwind, whatever word you want to use, pause, just hit the pause button on things and be able to not have to be so frantic, because that to me just leads to everyone's stress levels being higher. And again, I in some respects, I think it's somewhat of an American thing. Again, speaking from my own perspective, and not, I'm not going to claim to be the most worldly cultured person ever. I would never do that because it's not true. But I look at some other cultures from afar and what I can see and what I know, and I just see people not being quite as high strung as Americans can be, and not feeling as much pressure as Americans can. Not all. Again, don't want to paint with a broad brush, but I don't know. I feel like there's a better way sometimes. There's a better way for people to be able to live their life and enjoy it in the moment and not have to wait until they get to the age of being able to retire before they can finally, sit, like take their foot off the gas a little bit and really enjoy things around them. And not to say that when you're constantly going that you don't get to appreciate things, but it's harder. It's a lot harder. And I feel like there should be a way to alleviate some of that somewhat for people. And it's not just this isn't just a rant about work, because work is what it is. And it's not the only source of stress in people's lives. There's family things. There's, other outside commitments, interests, things that take up your time. And when that all gets piled together, it can cause, an excess of stress. But, trying to find that work-life balance, or even that that just life balance in things is not always easy for people, and I think we should be doing things if we can to try and make that easier. I mean, maybe I'm not smart enough to know exactly how you do that. I'm sure there are people more savvy and intelligent than me that can figure some of that stuff out, but I think maybe it should be a goal or something that we can strive towards. And again, it's all take it all with a grain of salt. It's all personal preference, personal feeling, and I I know it is cliche, but to each their own. What works for one person is not necessarily going to be a fit for somebody else. But I just know that for me personally, over the course of the last couple of years, um, primarily the last year or so, like maybe year and a half, being able to kind of mentally slow down for me has been very helpful. It's allowed me to appreciate things. And again, I think I need to throw out a caveat here and I did mention this in part of that conversation I was having on Facebook, is that I understand that personally I'm in a somewhat maybe unique position for some, and I don't want to say better, but just a different position, which may make it a little easier for me to slow down than it would be for necessarily everybody else. I have a job that I enjoy. I've spent years doing something that I didn't enjoy, and I didn't look forward to going to work. It was a means to an end. It was what I needed to do to pay bills, and I just, I got to the point where I kind of dreaded going to work every day, and I don't have that feeling anymore. I'm very thankful for that. And it's a job that I enjoy, and it allows me to get by as I need to. On top of that, my daughter Ash is, she's old enough where she's pretty self-sufficient at this stage of the game. She's essentially an adult at this point, which is a scary concept in and of itself. But she's about to graduate high school and go into college, and she drives. I don't need to drive her around anymore. I don't, generally speaking. And she's not as reliant on me for things as that require time as she was when she was younger. And the things that I do outside of work and outside of family responsibilities are things that I choose to do. As I, I'm sure I've talked about it at some point on one of these episodes. If not, I'm currently the president of our local youth softball league, and that's something that I do because I enjoy doing it, and it makes me happy. It brings me a sense of pride, and it's just, again, generally something that I have fun with. It is some work, and it's sometimes it can be a source of stress, but by and large it's not. And it's a time commitment, but that's my time commitment that I'm choosing to make. Doing content creation, and it's funny because I make no delusions about my content creation. I have a Twitch stream that I average 5-ish viewers a stream. I have a very small reach. I have a very small community, and I'm not saying that as in a way to say that I'm unappreciative of the people, because it's actually funny. Today I noticed that Twitch did a thing this year. I don't know if they did it last year or not, but it was very much, they stole the Spotify Wrapped. So if you're not familiar with that, if you've been maybe living under a rock or don't use Spotify puts out this thing every year that kind of goes over your listening habits, or what you did this year, what you listened to on Spotify, who were like your top 5 artists, what were the top 5 songs you listened to, some other trends based on your tendencies and your listening. And so Twitch did something similar, and they did it on on two levels. They did it as a viewer, and they did it if you're a streamer as a streamer. And so I saw my numbers, and I'm again, I make no bones about what the reality of I'm not going to be a gigantic content creator anytime soon, if ever. And I do it as a hobby, and I do it because I enjoy it. But I saw my numbers, and I put those up on our Discord server, and I just said, hey, to everyone who had any hand in any of this, thank you. I appreciate it, and let's keep it rolling next year and have some more fun. So, but I referred to myself in the Facebook discussion as I pretend to be a content creator, because in some respects I kind of joke that that's the thing for me, that I'm a content creator, but I'm not really, because I'm creating content, but who's actually consuming this content? Who's actually listening to this podcast right now? I don't know. Not a ton of you, but that's fine. Anybody, if whoever you are that's listening to this, thank you. But so yeah, so I mean, I have my Twitch stream, I have my YouTube channel, which is sorely neglected. More on that in a bit. But yeah, but these are things that I put my time into because I want to. I don't have to. And if the time constraints get to the point that I have to cut something out, I can. It's not a problem. These are things I choose to do. So it doesn't, that was one of the reasons why I took a break from the podcast. The podcast had become much more sporadic, and I took a break from Twitch for a month or so, because between work and trying to I have a family and doing the softball league, I didn't have time to record podcasts, and it was making it hard to really keep a regular schedule streaming. So I took a break. I didn't need to add to my stress level for something that wasn't necessary. I enjoy it. I'm glad I get to do it. But, for that month or so that I didn't do it, it was necessary to take that break. And I know this is kind of a digression overall from the main point, but the general idea is that I am appreciative of the position that I'm in, and that I am able to slow down. I'm able to take a step back, not feel like I have to constantly go, and take time for myself, which I think people need to try and do more of. Even as an adult who has responsibilities to work, to whatever, as a parent, you need to take that time for yourself from time to time. Doesn't have to. I'm not saying abandon all of your responsibilities, but find that time for you, because if you don't, you might, aside from just becoming overwhelmed and stressed out, and just you can get angry. You can get resentful if you don't. So again, grain of salt stuff. If you have a hectic lifestyle and you enjoy it, and you wouldn't want a slower lifestyle, then by all means keep that pedal to the ground, because ultimately, and that was the way that I kind of wrapped up the little back and forth that I had on that Facebook post, was my hope for people is that you are able to find that balance in life, whatever that means to you, where you can do what you feel you need to do what you would want to do, and be able to enjoy as much of it as possible along the way. That's my hope for people, is that you can do that, because I would hate to get to the point where I felt like I looked back and I didn't really get to enjoy or appreciate things as much until much later. And looking back and wishing that I could have, you know, done things a lot differently. We're always going to look back at things and feel like there's things that we wish we could have done differently. But I I don't I don't like to deal in regrets, and I try not to deal in regrets, and I don't, not to say that I'm completely satisfied with every choice I make and every path I go down, and I don't have times where I look back and go, well, I wish I had done that differently, but by and large, I don't like to dwell on that stuff. And I think for me personally, being able to slow down helps avoid some of that, where you don't look back and wish that you had been able to enjoy and appreciate things more. So I just, I look at someone like my father, and I don't know if I've really ever talked about this much publicly, in a sense, but I guess to set the stage a little bit, so those of you who may be not as familiar with me and some of this stuff, and I'm not going to go into incredible detail, but just to give you the Cliff Notes version. So in 2019, my father was diagnosed with stage 4 small cell lung cancer, and essentially, they weren't going to be able to operate. They weren't going to be able to do anything other than try and treat it as best as possible, and there was really no way they were going to be able to cure it. So the idea was, let's do whatever we can to, maximize what time you have. And so he, we didn't know, really, realistically speaking, how much time that was. Ended up being about 1.5 years, which I'm super appreciative for. And, yes, I wish it was longer, obviously, but I'm just appreciative of the fact that he had that extra time. But for him, I look back, and so it was kind of always a joke at the time, is that he never felt like he was going to be able to retire because of where he was at financially. He felt like he was pretty much always going to have to work, and I don't want to be in that position when I get older. I would like to be able to get to a point that if I wanted to not work anymore, I could say I could not, I could stop, I could retire and feel comfortable in the fact that I could retire. And he never felt like he could. And if it wasn't for the fact that he got sick, and if it wasn't for the fact that COVID hit, and our company, because we both work for the same company, was awesome enough to tell him when COVID hit that you need to go home because it is too risky for you to not be at home right now. And they sent him home and made it so that he wouldn't have to worry about not coming into work. He would have worked until he died. And, for some people, that's okay. Again, it goes back to that whole thing, to each their own. If you're one of those people that the thought of retirement is not something that's appealing to you, that you feel like you need that, I don't know what the word is, that sense of, I don't know. I really don't know what you would call it, but there are some people that, retirement does not appeal to them. They want to be working. I don't think it's a vast majority of people, but there are those people, and that's okay. For me, I don't want to be to the point where I feel like I have to work my entire life. Like, I want to be able to build to a point where I don't have to work. And then again, I don't let this is not me at the age of 41 saying that I want to retire in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years or even 20 years, But I want to be able to build to that point where I don't have to work as I get older. I can be comfortable in that fact. And I wanted that for my father. And I don't think he was planning on not retiring because he didn't want to retire. He just felt like he, wasn't going to be in a financial position to, and that's unfortunate. I look at another thing about him, and there were times when I was younger that he would work for months at a time. I mean, not when I say months, I'm talking more than one. A couple months at a time where he worked 7 days a week. And you know, again, something that probably needs to be explained here is that he worked and then he came home and he relaxed. Like he didn't have a lot of other things he did. He would help coach my teams in Little League. He at one point he was on the board of directors for my local Little League, and he was in charge of field maintenance, and he did a lot of responsibility for that. But by and large, like he would go to work and he would come home and he would live his life at home, and then that's the way he liked to be, and that's totally cool. I'm kind of a homebody myself, so I understand it and I appreciate it. So, um, yeah, it's just that not having to work 7 days a week, bro. And I know there are people, I know friends, I know coworkers that at times they have to do that, because that's what the company needs, and that's fine. Like, but I I don't want that to be a constant thing for me. I want to be able to have those days away from work to do things and to appreciate things and just enjoy my time while I'm relatively young. And I know I always joke about this too, because depending on what circle I'm in, I'm either young or I'm old. But oftentimes when we're talking about, you know, Twitch and Discord, and by and large most of the people who are probably listening to this right now, I'm the old man of the group. So when I say relatively young, you're probably laughing right now. But I want to be able to enjoy things while you know I'm on the younger side of the scale. So, but that's, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's just that was kind of my point. And I know I'm coming close to 40 minutes that I've been recording now, which is a lot longer than I thought I would maybe do the whole thing here. But just the general idea of, if you feel so inclined to try and find that way to slow down a little bit, enjoy the ride. And for me, one of the things that it's helped me to do is to just be more accepting of the things that I don't have control over. And there's the old serenity prayer that my good friend Jim likes to refer to a lot, and I'm going to actually look it up so that I don't actually butcher it, because the fact that I even mentioned a prayer is going to be surprising to a lot of people, because those of you who know me well know that I am not a religious person at all. But the general concept behind this, I do agree with. And so it's grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The important part about that to me is being able to accept the things that you can't change, because, they're out of your control. Not that everything that you're out of your control is always great or fair, but it is what it is. And I know there are people that hate that, and I use that a bit, and it's kind of a joke here in the New England area, because it became a favorite line of Bill Belichick's for a while. It is what it is, which on the surface, yes, that is a very obvious and unnecessary statement. What else can it be than what it is? Yes, I get it. That phrase does annoy some people, but it's the idea behind it is that things are what they are. You don't need to stress about the way that some things are. Like that's just what it is. You can either accept it and move on, or you can go nuts and fight it and drive yourself insane. Not to say that everything that is shouldn't be changed. There's always room for change for things, but we'll get into a digression. But that you get the idea. There are things that you can't change, and just being able to accept that more will, I don't know, hopefully make things a little easier, make things a little more peaceful for you. We could all use a little bit more peacefulness in our lives, I think. So that's kind of the thing. That was kind of the I guess the stream of consciousness, and that whole that it's just so funny how this all stemmed from a couple of idiots driving like morons this morning, and that just flowed into all of this. So, I mean, if you have any thoughts about that, you can leave it. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave anything in the comments. Again, I don't want things to devolve into any kind of a political discussion. I will not engage, so you can save that. But any thoughts you have on anything related to any of what I've said, I know I kind of bounced around a bit and all that, but I'm always interested in hearing perspectives and what people are thinking about that kind of thing. So feel free. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you can hit me up on Twitter. The links are in the description on how you can give me feedback and comments and stuff like that. So feel free. I guess a couple other things that I wanted to hit on, because when I originally thought about, I didn't know how long I would talk about that first thing. I mean, it was, like I said, it was just kind of a seed that planted this morning, and it just kind of grew a little bit, and I just felt like I wanted to talk about it. So it was basically just, what else could I do to fill an episode was my thought. And I came up with, well, let's talk about some of the things that I'm, doing either on stream or things that I'm, again, this is the arena of Aurethious. What are the things that I'm interested in right now? So, one of the big things are the new Pokemon games, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. They came out. I'm expecting this episode to come out fairly quickly, because I'm not gonna have to do a lot of editing to this, because I'm just by myself and I'm just recording and I'm going, and then I'm probably just gonna quickly get this thing up on YouTube and Spotify. So, but just for completion's sake, this is we're being recorded on December 13th. So we're a little under a month removed from the launch of Scarlet and Violet. And the last episode, we talked a lot of Pokemon. The last two episodes, it was kind of a two-part thing inspired by a channel point cash-in on Twitch by MythRevan about wanting to do like a Pokemon retrospective, since I've been playing the games since virtually the beginning. But, Generation 1, we're now on Generation 9. So I've been playing a lot of Scarlet and Violet since they came out. So I just figured, it's kind of a hot button topic on the games. There's a lot being said about the games, both positive and negative. And, why not? This is my vehicle, so I'm going to drive it where I want to drive it. So, going in, I think one of the things, and I did mention it, I think towards the end of the Pokemon retrospective, was that my interest in Pokemon, I recorded that retrospective the day before the release of Scarlet and Violet. And at that point, my interest in Pokemon was about as low as it has ever been. And some of that was due to the release of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, the Generation 4 remakes. But I wasn't playing really much anymore. And, the amount that I would play, my interest in it would always kind of, rise and fall, as it does with most things. But I always was, finding ways to keep battling, because that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the game. And I had really even stopped that. I had stopped participating in the Ion Pokemon League, which is the league that we had and will have again. We're going to be looking to relaunch that fairly soon. Again, I'll mention that later. But I had stopped participating in that. I was essentially just the person kind of organizing and overseeing, and everyone else was participating. I wasn't feeling it. So that's where I was at, but as these games were being released. So I was looking forward to them because it's new Pokemon. Let's see what they're going to do. And I had a little bit more of a interest in these just to see, could they pull me back in. That was the big question that I had. Would they be enough to pull me back in? And the short answer to that is absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get the negatives out of the way because they're there, they're fairly glaring, and you know they need. I mean, you can't ignore them. You can't. If you're being honest, you can't ignore them. No matter how much you like the games, you cannot ignore them. Big things for me. This is me specifically. The frame rate issues are not great. There are areas and times in the game where the game slows down to the point that even I notice it, and that stuff usually does not bother me one bit. Those of you who know me well know that I like to play a lot of retro games. I don't need the latest and greatest, by and large. I don't need the best top of the line graphics. I don't need, that's not my thing. Never has been. But it's noticeable where the frame rate issues are in Scarlet and Violet, and it's a problem. And I don't know if, again, I should just say this off the top for any of the stuff that I talk about that are issues. I don't know if they're fixable. If it's something that they can patch, that is, I am not a developer. I am not a coder. I am not an expert on any of this stuff, so I'm not even going to speculate. So I don't know if these are going to improve, but they're issues. So that's a big one. That's one of the big ones is the frame rate. People complain about the graphics. Again, that doesn't bother me. There are things about the graphics that I think there are certain things that look bad, and I'm like, wow, that probably should be a little bit better. But I don't know. It's not a deal breaker for me. One of the other big things that I kind of have an issue with, as it is right now, is the online terror raids. I think their design is fun. I think there's things there that they're improvements over the max raids in Sword and Shield, and there's an element of strategy in some of the high level ones that just wasn't there in the max raids. Even like the real big ones, I think. Maybe some of the special ones in Sword and Shield were required a little bit of thought. But there's some actual strategy involved in some of these, which is cool. The problem is that, and I don't know what, and again, I'm not a technical whiz when it comes to this stuff, so I don't know what exactly the issue is, but there are some like real annoying performance issues during these online raids. I mean, to the point where like I feel like it feels to me, again, what do I know? But it feels to me that the game can't keep up with the pace that they designed these raids to be at, where just so much is happening so much quicker than it does in a lot of other aspects of Pokemon that the game can't keep up. And you'll have times where like you literally cannot do anything. You're just waiting for the game to be able to respond. Like, not that the game freezes, but the action essentially freezes. And it's noticeable. It's bad. It's bad, and it really does hinder the enjoyment of that aspect of the game. So there are other issues that people have encountered, some bugs, game crashes. I've been fortunate. I've not really experienced many game crashes, so it's not a big thing that has affected me. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. and it's unfortunate for people who that is a serious problem with. That's never fun. But by and large, a lot of the issues that some people have had, I haven't experienced. Which, so I can't speak on them. So with that said, and with the acknowledgement that there is room for improvement, and actually I guess one of the things to piggyback off of that is, I think one of the issues is that they don't give these games the proper development cycle that's necessary. And I've had this debate, or not. It's not even a debate, really, because I don't. It's I don't. It's not, I don't want to sit here and sound like I debate people on this thing, but I don't. But it's discussions I've had with games like Madden. Games that are annual releases, and I've always argued, or felt is a better way to say it. I've always felt that they would be better served if they just slow down the development life cycle on these things. Put out a Madden game every 2 or 3 years and support that one through updates. People will pay for updates if they're significant enough, without having to pay the full price of a complete new release. But they will support it if you do it right and you do it well. People want these games to be good, and if you give people enough of what they want, like, they'll support you. They'll support you with their wallets. And I feel like Pokemon, to a lesser degree, but it still applies, that because we're looking at basically getting new Pokemon games every year, essentially, mainline games, I guess you could say, it hurts. And I just think that with a game like Scarlet and Violet, with what they tried to do and the open world aspect of it and everything that they wanted to do, it needed more time to smooth out some of the issues. And they didn't, it's just, it is what it is. Like, they've got their release schedule, and they're not gonna delay that. And in the end, why should they? Because we all buy them. Every year they're gonna get $60 some odd for these games, and more than that if you're buying like a collector's edition, or all that stuff. So the issues that are in these games are never seem to be enough to make people not buy them. People will buy it because it's Pokemon. So until the point that people don't, if it gets to the point where the issues are bad enough that people don't buy them, there's no incentive for Game Freak to push back these development cycles. So that's the catch-22 about it, is that I feel like, yes, the games could use some more time to be fine-tuned, to be, make them better. But there's no monetary incentive for them to do that, because people will still buy them. So that's just kind of that's the reality of the situation. Now, again, with all of that said, I started this off by saying that these games really reignited my interest, and they did, because despite the fact that there are issues, these games are really fun. There are several things about this game that I really enjoy. One of them is, it really is one of the first games, and I guess it's the first main series game. It depends on what you consider Legends Arceus, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't actually fit into that whole main series, because it's definitely different. But this game takes some of this from that. It really invites you to explore more than any of the main core series games Pokemon have ever done. I spent so much time wandering around, exploring, looking for Pokemon, looking for items, just exploring the region instead of just I need to get through this. I need to go, okay, I'm here. I need to get to the next city. I need to get to the next gym. And there's no reason for me to really wander around this route at all. Let's just go and get to the next point. And the only time that I would, as long as I'm high enough level to get past the next part, that's fine. This game invites you to explore, and it's fun to explore. It's again, I don't want to get into the graphic thing, but I enjoy the region of Paldea. It's fun. It feels bigger than the other regions do. There's more there's more to see. There's more to explore. And that's been fun. I've really enjoyed that part of the game. On top of that, I think the story in this game, and it was kind of a three-pronged story that started at one point. It started, and then it kind of gave you those three branches of the story to deal with that you were allowed to do in however you wanted to do. Although there's caveats with that, and then it all comes together at the end. And I won't spoil anything, but I thought the story was very enjoyable, and that's rare for me to say about a Pokemon game because normally I don't care about the story. They're typically not great, I feel, and especially like in Sword and Shield, I felt the story was really non-existent. You know, to the point that they actually kind of pushed you away from the story in that game. In Sword and Shield, you're going through and you know things start to kind of happen aside from your quest to get all the gym badges and to become a champion. And as things are happening, your characters are basically saying, "Don't worry about that. We'll handle that. You just keep going and get those gym badges." And that was just like weird in a sense. I just felt like there just wasn't as much there as for story as there even was in other Pokemon games, and and I think that's saying a lot because I don't feel like the story is that strong in most of them. And I feel like that was different in Scarlet and Violet, and that was cool to actually be able to have fun with the story. Um, and again, I don't want to spoil anything for people who either haven't played the game or haven't finished the game at this point, so I'm not going to get into specifics. But the other thing I will say is that the end area of the game, I adore. I thought they did such a good job with that. The whole atmosphere, the music. Oh, the music, guys. Music in this game is actually really good. And Pokemon music is by and large it's decent to good. The music in this final area of the main story of the game is phenomenal. Phenomenal. I keep joking on Discord that I keep waiting for some of the artists who I follow on Spotify and YouTube who do a lot of video game covers to touch some of this stuff because I think there's going to be some really good stuff that comes from that. But take the time if you haven't played these games yet and you're going to play these games, um, take the time, really take the time, and like, maybe it's the theme of the day. Slow yourself down if you're one of those people who feels the need to push through and get through things faster. Really take the time to slow yourself down and explore and enjoy this game, and especially again the end, the towards the end of the game. Really enjoy it. You're all, I've played through the game twice essentially because I have both versions of the game. I have Scarlet and I have Violet, and I've played through the main story on both of them. And you do only get that experience of going into that final area for the first time once. So really take that, really do soak it in because it's fun. you know, when when we get a little bit more distant from the release date, I'll probably give some more specifics on what I think. I could say, you know what, we're gonna have spoilers, and I could put timestamps and say I'm gonna, but I don't want to get too much into it now. We'll those of you who have been to some of my streams, because I did do a playthrough of Scarlet on stream, so you can see my reactions in real time there. If you go into some of the save videos, which those will be up for at least for a little while longer. So it's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying the games, and it did kind of relight that fire for me about Pokemon in general, but specifically, getting back into battling, which has always been the crux of it for me. As I mentioned it, I think I mentioned it during the retrospective. If I didn't, I'd be shocked. But one of the things that I've always liked about Pokemon is that there are various things that you can do in the game that can appeal to different people, and it can make the game fun for different people. Maybe you're like me and you like to battle, and so that's your thing, and there's a lot there to digest. Maybe you like to collect, so if you go on Twitch and you look up the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet category, you will find countless people doing shiny hunting. I can't be bothered to do that personally, but it's there. It's a thing that a lot of people love to do. And if that's the way that you want to spend your time, and that's you get that gives you your enjoyment out of the game, that's there for you. There's breeding, there's different things that you can do with Pokemon, and people who have very very different interests in what they get out of the game can all still really enjoy it. So that's one of the things that I've always enjoyed about Pokemon. But like I said, for me, it's battling, and it's really lit that fire again. So yesterday, again, as I'm recording this, yesterday I did my first Pokemon viewer battle stream in a long time, and those are going to be, back to stay at least for as long as I'm enjoying Pokemon. Again, it ebbs and flows for me, but I'm really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to doing some battling. So if you're into Pokemon battling, right now, my tentative plan, or not my tentative plan, but my plan, at least for the moment, is every Monday and Wednesday evening, I'm going to be doing Pokemon viewer battle streams. So if you're interested in any of that, it's a lot of fun. Again, if you're interested in battling, you can come in. You can get to battle me on stream. If you're just into watching battles, I have a bot on my channel that was made by our good friend Siglectic. He put it together for me a couple of years ago that will allow you to predict who you think is going to win each battle, and it tallies up how many people guess right, and we can keep that we keep that over like a month or so, and then we usually reset it. And I'm thinking, I mentioned it yesterday, starting next month, that I might do some kind of like a contest for it, so that the end of each month, whoever has the most points in the prediction game will get something in game for it. Maybe if there's a Pokemon you want me to build for you, or we'll figure something out. But that's the idea. But yeah, so Pokemon viewer battles are back, and they're going to be back for a bit. So kudos to Scarlet and Violet, despite its warts. It's really really reignited the Pokemon interest in me, and I'm glad. I'm glad, because I've been playing these games for a long, long time, and I was sad to think that maybe the interest was finally starting to just dwindle, and it's still there, so that's cool. So aside from Pokemon, I'm doing a lot of City of Heroes on stream. I mean, that's been the case. I've been until Scarlet and Violet. I had pretty much done like 2 straight months of just City of Heroes since I had returned from my little hiatus, and I've been having a lot of fun with that. I mean, I love City of Heroes. There's no news to anybody who has been watching any of my streams lately or knows me well, as far as my affinity for that game, and I've been having a lot of fun playing it on stream, and really getting to interact with a lot of the City of Heroes community around Twitch. There's a real fun group of streamers who stream it regularly. I guess notable shout outs for some people that I get to play with a lot or watch a lot. So there's Mollymock76 and Grablaja, Vivid Muse, the Green Bear, Taxi. I know there's gonna be people that I miss, so I don't want to have like an exhaustive list, but there's a really fun group of City of Heroes streamers and viewers. There are people who will go to a lot of the City of Heroes streams, hang out in chat, join the streamers in game, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun because for me, when the game was live, I had generally speaking, most of the time that I played, I had super groups or groups of friends in game that I played with a lot. And since the private servers came back, I really didn't have that. I mean, I didn't need it because I get a lot of enjoyment out of the game. Even playing it solo, I do that a lot anyway. I enjoy the game. I enjoy the character creation. I enjoy the lore of the game, the stories. I don't necessarily even need a group to play with to experience a lot of that stuff. So, but aside from my friend Matt, who I actually met through the game, he's really the only person that I used to play with on live that I know of plays on the private servers, and that I still do play from time to time. And we don't even get to play together that much because our schedules just don't align a lot. So the Twitch City of Heroes community has been fun because it's given me some regular folks that I get to play with. So that's cool. It's a real fun, supportive group that they support each other, they support the game, and just people who are just passionate and interested in this ancient, I guess at this stage of the game, MMO that is been dead and resurrected for. It's funny. I don't know how this came up, but I was thinking about it yesterday that the game has now been shut down longer than it was live, which is kind of wild to think about. I mean, again, the private servers are a thing; you can play it, but the official live servers were from 2004. I'm talking beta. I'm talking about when the game was actually retail live. 2004, 2012. So roughly 8 years or so there. And so since 2012, it's now 2022, so that's 10 years. So, jeez, it's crazy. But we still get to play it, which is great. But yeah, there's a great group of people. So I would, if you are interested in City of Heroes, go on Twitch, check out the City of Heroes category. You're bound to find someone, and most of the time, most hours of the day, you'll find somebody streaming it. So check it out and get involved. It's like I said, it's a good group. So I've been happy to do that. One of the things that I'm going to be looking to do City of Heroes related is I want to put together some YouTube specific content that is focused on the lore and the stories of the game, because that's one of the things that really interests me a lot. And that's one of the cool things of I mentioned that the City of Heroes Twitch community. There's a lot of diversity even in I don't want to say areas of expertise, but specific areas of interest within the game. For example, I mentioned Mollymock and Grablaja, and like the two of them are really great and at builds and maximizing the potential and the effectiveness of their characters. Taxi's another one who's great at that, and like for me, that's not my thing. I've never been one. I don't build my characters optimally. I build them thematically. Like every power that I take on my characters, I feel like it needs to make sense. I need to be able to make it make sense with that character, and I can't just I don't take I just don't I take all of a character's primary and secondary powers, which some people would look at that and they go, "What the heck are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? You should do this. You should do this." And it's like, you know what? It's fine. It works. And that's also one of the things I enjoy about City of Heroes is that you don't have to min max to really still enjoy a lot of the game. You know, the homecoming, and that's the servers that I play on, homecoming servers, and there are others, and I'm never here to get into a debate on which one's better. Check them out, make your own decision, play on all of them if you want, enjoy them. There's a lot of people doing great work and keeping this game going. But Homecoming's added some, essentially hard mode versions of some of the task forces and some of the content. And, my characters might not be equipped enough to do maybe some of that stuff. I've never really tried it because that's not my bag. I guess that's another kind of joke that most of the people on the Ion Game Corner know, and a lot of my Twitch viewers know, that I am not here for a challenge. I'm just here to enjoy. If there is an easy difficulty setting, I will play on easy because my time, I don't need to be banging my head against the wall with my time. I'm here to have fun. I don't need a sense of accomplishment with my games. So, but yeah, so that's one of the things. So there are some of those folks who are really good at builds and about maximizing your character and its performance, and there are others like me, and Vivid Muse is another one who focuses a lot about the lore and the stories, and Viv and her husband Chooch do a lot of great stuff where they really take the time to go through and explore a lot of the task forces in the game, which is something that's really cool because, by and large, that stuff, like, you need teams to do. You get people on, and it's like it becomes a go thing. Again, here comes the slow down thing. Jesus, that's going to be the theme of this. Like, I should just name this like slow down or something, or like, I don't know. I'll have to figure something out. I'll figure out what the episode title is going to be. But it's go, get through as fast as you can, finish the task force, get your badge, get your merits, and move on to the next thing. And that's fine. Sometimes I appreciate being able to go through some of this stuff quicker because I just want the merits. I need merits for my character. But a lot of the task forces and the trials and that stuff, I don't feel like I know the stories of them really well. Some of them you can kind of piece together just by the missions that you do and the way that the each mission goes. You can kind of get an idea of what the story is, but you don't ever actually get that time to sit there and read the contact dialogue. The way that City of Heroes and most MMOs that I've ever experienced work is that you have a contact and they assign you a task, and that task, there's a bunch of text that introduces what that is, and then once you're done, there's more text to wrap up that, and it pulls the story together. And with the task forces, you don't actually really read a lot of that stuff because you're just going from mission to mission. You're going. Viv and Chooch, and then along with Rich, who you may know as either Trauma Train Rich or XP Rich. He's known as both in various circles. And also Grablaja joins in with them on some of the stuff too. Is they and I believe Dythox, another real good City of Heroes player and content provider, they all kind of get together and they go through some of this stuff, and they go through it casually, and Viv will take the time to read the dialogue and all that stuff, and it's a really good dichotomy of their group and what they have, because they focus on the lore, but they also focus on the tactics on some of the stuff. So you get all of that together in these task forces and stuff. So I I wish I had the link, and I'll have to see if I can. I'll have to find it, and I'll maybe post it as a comment on YouTube after the fact, or maybe I'll bring it up on another episode. But um, I gotta find out where a lot of their stuff is archived, because I mean it's really good stuff. If you're interested in the game and you're interested in finding out a lot about that stuff, they're an excellent resource. Viv and Chooch do the City of Heroes podcast. You can find that. Just do a Google search, you'll find it. And so I mean check that out. Like I mean if you're interested in the game, like they put together a lot of great content. So not trying to steal like their thunder, so to speak, but I wanted to put together some YouTube content that does focus on purely the lore and the stories. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do I'm going to do story arcs. I'm going to do even some of the one-off stuff. If there's sometimes there's like one-off badge missions that have some good decent story to them, and then those task forces and stuff like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to a lot of the stuff I'll probably take from stream, and I'm going to edit it to the point that it's really focused on the story, and we're telling the stories, because I think there's a lot of great stories in this game. I might even focus on some of the architect stuff that some of the players create. I've been doing some of that myself. I know Mollymock's has a really fun story arc that he's working on. It's going to be like a 3-part arc. The first part's done. I think he said he's almost done with the second part. And I played through the first part, and it's a lot of fun. So people, there are some really creative people that put some cool stuff out, and I want to showcase some of that stuff. I want to highlight some of that stuff, the stories, because I really enjoy the stories of the game. So I want to put that focus on that. So that's going to be coming. I don't know when. I don't want to make promises, but hopefully relatively soon. I want to start doing that. So I'll be taking recordings off of stuff from Twitch, and I'll be hopefully compiling it, editing it, and shortening it so that it really is very much focused on telling the stories. Because to me, that's one of the most interesting things about the game. I love the setting of Paragon City. I love the characters and the just the atmosphere and the lore, and I want to focus on that. So that's something you can look forward to as we go forward here, coming down the pipe. Wow, this is already a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I need to wrap this up pretty soon. So maybe we'll cut it a little. I was also going to talk a little bit about the little football and a little bit about the Patriots, because I've done some of that before in previous episodes, but we're up over an hour now, so I don't think we need to go into it. Maybe we'll have another episode of the podcast relatively soonish. We're coming towards the end of the regular season, so the timing might be right to do something like that. Maybe I'll reach out to cousin Ian again and see if we can get a little bit of a football discussion going as we get ready for the playoffs. It's been a while since we've actually sat and talked football, so maybe that's where we'll go. So yeah, I think that's a good place. That's a good place to wrap things up. So just to do kind of our normal ending routine here. If you want more of my content, you can catch me on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Aurethious. You can see it on the screen. If you are watching on YouTube, it'll be in the description on both YouTube and on Spotify. Right now I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursday evenings, generally 5 to 8-ish. Wednesdays I do start a little bit earlier, just because I work from home those days, so I don't have my hour commute home. And I also stream Saturday mornings early. Some people say way too early, but I start around 6 o'clock in the morning, and I go until about 10-ish. And so as of right now, Mondays and Wednesdays are Pokemon, very much focused on battles. We also do some Terra raids together right now. It's a good time to stock up on some materials if you want to join in on any of that stuff. Very much focused on viewer participation, so you guys are welcome to join. And actually the same goes for the other ones. Thursday and Saturday right now are focused on City of Heroes. Again, we're going to be doing a lot of story stuff. And again, I mostly play on the Excelsior server on Homecoming. So if you catch me while I'm streaming, Even if you don't catch me once, if you catch me on some other time, I'm not playing a ton off stream right now because I really am focused a lot on Pokemon and getting ready to do some battle stuff. But my global on City of Heroes is at Aurethious. Feel free to add me on global, and if you catch me in game, you can definitely join me. Know that I'm generally a little bit more chill, and if you're looking for someone to do that hard mode stuff, I'm not your guy. But if you're looking for someone to just hang out with in game and have some fun, feel free to hit me up. But yeah, Thursdays and Saturdays are City of Heroes, and that's going to be what it is for the next little while until something else catches my attention, and it's something that I want to do on stream. So, but that's the plan for at least a little while. So you can catch me on Twitch. You can also catch me on Twitter, I guess. I'm at Aurethious on Twitter. I don't tweet a ton. I mostly just kind of tweet when I'm going live. I always joke at the end of every one of these episodes that I need to be better on Twitter, but I just don't know how to do it. I don't feel like I have that much to just say on Twitter, so I'll get there. I'll get there eventually, although maybe Twitter's on its dying days. Who knows? But again, let's not get into that. And then finally, the Ion Game Corner Discord server is where you can find me and my content creator friends, such as Zexios, Trash and Treasure, Kagone, and Flaring Flames is kind of not really streaming these much anymore, but he is one of our what I like to call game masters on the Ion Game Corner, because he does run the Bidding War League, which is a Pokemon battling league. So. But you can find most of us doing stuff on Twitch. You can find some occasional YouTube content as well. Trash has his podcast, Let's Talk About X, which is similar to what I do, but very much different. Trash basically, again, he'll get a good topic and get people talking, and it's a good time. So you should check out Trash. So. Also on the Discord server, if you're into pro wrestling, every Wednesday night, Zexios hosts an AEW Dynamite watch party on the Discord server. So if you're into wrestling, especially if you're into All Elite Wrestling, and you want to get together with some folks and watch Dynamite together, they get together in a voice chat and they all watch Dynamite together, and it's a good time. I keep joking that eventually I'll catch up with them, catch up and join. I am still way behind on my wrestling. It's getting bad. It's actually getting worse and not getting better, even though I've started to catch up a little bit. But yeah, it's gonna be a while for me. That's why I'm not talking about wrestling right now, because I'm so far behind. But and we also have some other various gaming groups at the time. We used to do community game nights, which hopefully maybe we'll get back into some of that as we maybe get into the new year. I know holiday season is kind of crazy for a lot of people. We have Pokemon leagues and tournaments usually. Like I mentioned earlier, we have the Ion Pokemon League. It's on hiatus now because their interest level wasn't quite there towards the end of pre-Generation 9 release. And I'm hoping now, my interest is there. Hopefully other people are in the same boat as me and they're going to want to get going again. So maybe within the next few weeks to the next month-ish, maybe right after the first of the year, we'll see. As soon as we get enough interested people to give it a go again, we'll get the Ion Pokemon League going. But if you're into Pokemon, there's a lot of Pokemon players on the Discord, so come hang out. It's a good time. You'll enjoy it. We enjoy it, and you should enjoy it with us. So links for everything are either on the screen if you're watching, or they'll be in the description whether you're watching or listening. Either way, you'll be able to find me. So, wow, this was again longer than I thought it was going to be, but it was cool. I enjoyed this, and I hope you guys did too. So, any thoughts on any of the stuff that I talked about? Again, feel free to leave a comment. Find me on Twitter, find me on Discord, come chat with me about it. I'm always interested in hearing what people have to say. So, who knows when the next one's going to be? Again, I'm not committing to anything, guys. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I do more. I used to call them random thoughts when I would blog. God, when blogging was a thing. I guess blogging is still kind of a thing, but not really. But yeah, just kind of see what things that are going on and how I feel. So I don't know, maybe we'll do more like that. But who knows? Again, football is on my mind, so maybe we'll get a football episode. But I don't want to ramble anymore. I've rambled enough. We're almost an hour and a half, and I didn't even think I'd get half of that today. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys. Again, we're getting close. If I don't have another episode by the end of this 2022 calendar year, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Enjoy in whatever form that is. And thank you for anyone who is listening, who has taken the time to watch my Twitch streams at all. Um, you know, anything that you've done to support either me, my content, my friends, all of that stuff. It's much appreciated. It will never go unappreciated. You guys are the best. So take care. Thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Arena of Aurethious.